As a paper crafter, you know that adhesives can make or break your crafting experience. If you have good adhesives and you know how to use them, things go nice and smoothly. If you're fighting with your adhesives, it is much less fun. I decided to gather all of my best tips for using adhesives in this video right here today. So I hope you will watch along and see something that can help you with your adhesives. Hope you'll stick around for the end. I have a bit of encouragement to share with you. I'm Anna. I'm thankful you're here. Let's get started. When I was planning this video, I was intending to share my 5 best tips for adhesive, and then my list just kept growing and growing. So hopefully you'll hear some things here that are going to help you. But I want to start with one of my favorite tips for adhering detailed die cuts. If you ever struggle with how to attach detailed die cuts to your projects, I have several tips in this video that are going to help you, and this is my first one. So I'm using my silicone craft mat. You're going to see this a few times. It is very helpful for doing different things with adhesives. I have my favorite glue in the green bottle. I am using a sponge. I'm going to hold it in place with my finger, and I want to try to avoid letting this move around much, because if it does, I may end up with some of that glue on the front side of my die cut, which I don't really want. After I have that glue on there in just a nice thin layer, one of the things I love about this glue in the green bottle is how sticky it is. So it dries quickly when you have it in a thin layer, and it will hold things in place almost immediately, and I just love that. So here, this is my first tip. I love this way of attaching detailed die cuts. Now, if this is messier than you like I said, I have several other tips I'm going to share here in a few minutes. Now let's look at another way to use the silicone craft mat. As mentioned, this is very helpful for all sorts of different things. Now here's a way to use it with tape. Now depending on the kind of tape that you use, this can work better, and sometimes it doesn't work quite as well. I've done this with different kinds of tape and had mixed success, but what I did, you just saw, I just rolled some of that tape on the back, and then I'm going to use my finger and just basically what I'm trying to do is break up that tape and get it to pull back to the back side of the die cut so that in the openings it is hiding, it's not visible. So I will attempt to hold this up closer, see if you can see what I have done. I believe I have most of those out of the openings. I'm going to pull in a card. I thought this die cut would be really pretty on this nice card with the foil accents, and we have that attached nicely without any of that adhesive showing. Let's look at one more way to use the silicone craft mat, and I have several tips in this video for that situation when you put the adhesive on the back of your piece of paper before you finished all of your stamping. Has that ever happened to you? Oh, please tell me I'm not the only one. Okay, so what I'm doing, I am just laying it adhesive side down on my silicone craft mat. I can do my stamping, I can lift it back up, and it is ready to put on my card. So much better than sticking it to your table and then having to pry it off. Have you ever done that? Yeah, me too. Okay, so several tips for the silicone craft mat. Let's move on to the next one. Now, here is my other tip for when you have put on your adhesives too soon. Have you ever put your dimensionals on too soon before you have finished your stamping on the front? Yeah, me too. Okay, so a lot of times, I actually made this sample a little bit more difficult than my normal one. So normally I have a larger piece of paper, and I put my dimensionals on the corners, and I have more open space in the center. On this one, I don't have that. But here is what I do regardless. I take this, I turn it the right side up, and then I figure out how I can place a full sheet of dimensionals underneath to support the rest of my paper so that I can do my stamping. A lot of times that I just take a corner of one of these and I put it underneath, and then I can do my stamping. A lot of times it's just a greeting down at the bottom, and it works beautifully. Now let's see if this one works how I wanted to. I cut this strip down to the right width to fit between here. And of course I can still use these dimensionals after I get done with my stamping here. So let's see how this works. Oh, it worked, okay. So there's another idea if you happen to put your dimensionals on too soon. Now, do you ever use glue on your project and some of it gets somewhere it's not supposed to? Maybe it oozes out from behind the piece that you attached. Maybe you just accidentally got some extra glue on a place it wasn't supposed to be. Now, if you're using sticky glue, this can cause some problems, because if that then sticks to like the inside of the envelope, or you know, it can just cause issues. So here is a tip of something you can do if it doesn't really show very much, but it's sticky and you want to get rid of that sticky. If you have an embossing buddy in your collection, these are awesome for your heat embossing, to make sure that the embossing powder doesn't stick to places it's not supposed to. I do have a video out there on how to make your own if you don't have one of these. I will link to all of these products in the video description below, as well as some of my other videos like how to make your own embossing buddy. But what you can do is take this, just rub it over the top. It has a little bit of something like cornstarch or baby powder in here, and it is just going to take that stick away so that it doesn't stick to your envelope or anything else that is laying around. Now, what if, like in this case, your adhesive is showing and you want to remove that? This is an adhesive remover square. You could find these different places. I found this one at the dollar store, Dollar Tree in particular, and these are awesome for often removing that adhesive. So you take a corner or one of the edges and just kind of rub it against your project over and over. And I had a really big glob of glue this time, so we'll see if it works. But you may need to use your fingers. If you start to get it to roll up, you may need to use your fingers to remove some of that. But in a lot of cases, this will get rid of that little spot. You see how much better it's looking? If I work out a little bit more, it should take it all the way off of here. So this can be a lifesaver to get some of those spots off. And I'll be able to get that off if I work out another second. But let's say you don't get it off, friends. There's always a way to fix our mistakes in card making. I would suggest a few rhinestones or pearls as a good way to cover that up. Okay, next tip. I mentioned my favorite glue. Love this glue. I love that it's sticky, so I put it on something, and usually after several seconds it is ready and it holds it in place, and I can let go and not have to worry about it. Fun tip, I shared this a while back and a lot of people were as shocked as me. I'd been using this glue for forever, and I never paid attention to the fact that it has a second end. This is the detailed end, and this is the end. If you like to attach your cardstock and your paper to your projects using glue, this end kind of helps to thin it out so that you don't end up with those bubbles where your thick streams are. So thought I would share that since we are talking all about adhesives here. Glue dots. Do you know glue dots? Are you friends with the glue dots? If you paper craft, if you use ribbons and bows, you definitely need some of these in your collection. So they're pre-dried sticky dots, and this is how I like to use them. I'll talk about how I have my box here in a second, but the best way to do this is just to press your bow onto that sticky dot. It should lift away from the paper. Here's a card. I am going to attach my bow right here. These cards were very popular when I made them. I want to link to the products I used if you want to see those. But you can attach that right on there. It is nice and stuck in place. So these glue dots are awesome for bows, buttons, larger embellishments, things that are hard to keep in place and you don't want to have to hold it with glue for like 5 minutes to keep it in place. Glue dots are awesome. Now, if you're putting twine on, the problem with glue dots can be that it's too big. It's too big to put behind my little knot, and it's going to stick to my envelope or my other pieces on my card. So what you can do, if you can see this, I am rolling up the glue dot. Now, if this is too tedious for your fingers, you can use, I have a little tool called a take your pick. I'm going to show you here in a few minutes, a little tool to roll it up or something. But I basically just rolled it up into a little tiny roll. And now it is small enough to go behind the knot. And I can put it onto my card and not have to worry about it sticking to things it's not supposed to stick to. Okay, so now let's look at this dispenser for the glue dots. I know you love glue dots like I do if you have already discovered them. Glue dots changed how they rolled them, the dots, the rolls a few years ago. And I, along with some of you, were unimpressed with how it was rolled. They're not as user-friendly as they used to be. So here's what I do. I cut a little part off my box. I open it up, cut this little section out, and made it to where I can pull it out here. And I have taken the clear piece from the back of a packet of rhinestones, put it right here. So what I can do is stick this to the side of the box when I'm not using it. When I am using it, I can just pull it off. There's my glue dots to dispense them, and they're ready to go. When I'm done, just stick it back and put it in my drawer. So those are some tips for glue dots. Now, a couple of really basic tips. One, you must find a tape runner that you love if you haven't found one. I know a lot of people, when we get started, use tape or double-sided tape. Yes, this is so much nicer in my opinion. It's just nice and quick to run your glue, run your tape where you want it, and it is ready to go. You don't have to be tearing and placing and all that. So quick and easy. And one other one, if you have a hard time finding adhesive that holds things well enough, like let's say you like to make fun fold cards or 3D projects, tear and tape. Tear and tape is where it's at. It is nice and strong. And actually, so this is my Seal tape dispenser. The one I use most of the time is my Seal Plus. It's really strong as well, but if you need like super strong adhesive to hold something in place that maybe you're pulling on, or like I said, it's 3D, it's a box or something, this tear and tape adhesive is awesome. Okay, down to my last few tips, and here is one more for those detailed die cuts. Wouldn't it be amazing if every time you made a detailed die cut, it was basically a sticker, and all you had to do was remove the backing and put it where you wanted it? Wouldn't that be amazing? Well, that is possible with the use of adhesive sheets, and I'll show you in a second how to use them. So let's see if I can line this up now. So what adhesive sheets are is basically a sticker that you put on the back of your paper before you do the die cutting. And it makes it quick and easy to attach to your project like what you just saw. So here's how it works. They come in big sheets like this. You can cut them down to the size of your paper. So here's my die I'm going to use. I want to put adhesive across most of the back of this. It doesn't have to be across the entire thing, but after you have it cut down, you can remove the backing, and this one has a slit across the back, so it's going to come off in two separate pieces. Put those down. Now I want to flip this over so that that's on the back side. Run this through my die cutting machine, and when it comes out, it's going to be just like this one you just saw, where I can peel that backing off and put it where I need it. Love these adhesive sheets. I just have to remember to use them before I do my die cutting, and I don't always remember to do that. Okay, let's look at the Take Your Pick tool. I shared about this a few minutes ago. This thing is really helpful for all kinds of things. I love the sticky tip for placing gems and rhinestones on my project. I love this piercing tool for lots of things, and here is one of them. If you have a hard time with your hands, you can use this to lift and place your dimensionals. And if you happen to notice a second ago, what I'm doing is being careful when I lift this up. The more you do this, the quicker and easier it gets. But I am also lifting and removing that paper backing all at one time. So just have to kind of press and lift. And I think I missed, did I get that one? I missed this one. But even if you put it down and then you want to go back and remove that paper backing, you can do that. So that just makes it so easy to put those on, especially if you have arthritis or problems with your hands, and you can place your dimensionals that way. Okay, do you ever attach a card in the wrong place? You put some paper on, you put one of the pieces on in the wrong place. Here's another use for this take your pick tool. Here's my spatula tip. And this is my favorite way to get under there wherever the adhesive is. And you can kind of push, drag, pull. But what this does, it keeps from ending up with those bent and damaged spots when you're trying to lift and pull. And if I can get through that adhesive, show you here, I can lift up on that, and I can do the other side if I need to as well, and then I can reposition it and put it back where I wanted to have it in the first place. One last tip, you can use this for detailed die cuts again. You can use it for one other thing. So this is my fine tip glue pen. It's another glue that I really love. I love that it comes out in a super, super fine stream because it comes out of this little tiny tube right here. Now, when you close it up, you do want to make sure that the wire from the cap goes down in, otherwise it can glue itself shut. But this is great for little detailed die cuts, and I love when I can use products in my collection for multiple things. Okay, we like to get multiple uses out of our supplies. Here's something else you can do. You can put it on your project, and this one dries and is not sticky. It is shiny, as you can see, and you can use it for glossy accents. So hopefully you can see where I have added some of those to these flourishes on the side. So I hope these tips for adhesives help you. If you would like a little bit of encouragement today, I'm going to flip my camera around and we'll talk for a minute. So I shared not too long ago that for the last probably 2 years, I've been working on reading the entire Bible for the first time in my life. I'm not quite done. I'm getting pretty close, but I've found myself lately in the book of Psalms. So one of the things, I've been a Christian my whole life. I've read the Bible, you know, throughout my life, but there are several things that have stood out to me now that I have been reading the entire thing. And one of the things is how a lot of the things that we struggle with, and how a lot of the things that people may even question about God and faith, and, you know, how could God exist when there's so many awful things in this world, things like that. Like now that I have read most of it, I look at it and I think, like, this answers all of the questions. This answers everything. It explains everything. And so I've been reading Psalms, and not too long ago I read Psalm 55. And after I've been reading the Psalms, I'm trying to summarize each one and put just like a 3 to 6 word summary right there by the top of the Psalms, so that when I'm looking for something and I want to come back to and find a prayer for something I'm going through, that I could see like a little summary of each one. So I read Psalm 55, and my summary is life in a nutshell. Life in a nutshell. I just thought it was interesting as I was reading through it, all the things that we go through in life that were all compiled in this one little chapter. So I'm going to skim here, but here are some of the things that are in here. My thoughts trouble me, and I am distraught. Mental health and mental struggles are becoming such a big issue. And I know a lot of people are not really talking about them. It's becoming more common that people are sharing about these things. But we start with that. At the voice of the enemy, at the stairs of the wicked, for they bring down suffering upon me. So sometimes these thoughts in our mind are from other people. Sometimes they are from the invisible enemy who wants to attack our minds. They can come from a lot of places, but moving on, my heart is in anguish. Fear and trembling have beset me. Fear in this world that we live in and all of the crazy things that are going on. Fear is something that a lot of people are struggling with. I would flee far away. Have you ever just wanted to run away? I have. If an enemy were insulting me, I could endure it. But it is you, my companion, my close friend. Have you ever been betrayed by someone close to you? When it's someone not close to us, it's a lot easier to move on and to maybe unfriend them or whatever. But when it's a family member, a parent, a child, a sibling, a spouse, a close friend, that can be so much more hurtful and a lot harder to move on from. One of the things I underline, still talking about my companion, his speech is as smooth as butter, yet war is in his heart. I'm sure you've met people in life that are not what they come across as at first glance. So I just thought it was interesting that all of these different struggles that we face are thrown into this one little section. But at the end, when we get tired of running the race and if you're struggling with something today and you're discouraged and you're having a hard time keeping going in whatever it is, a lot of times the Psalms end with something of this nature. Cast your cares on the Lord and he will sustain you. He will never let the righteous fall. And then the very last verse, but as for me, I trust in you. Friends, if you're looking for hope, if you're looking for something to get you through, open up the good word and take a look, and maybe you'll find the help you're looking for. Thanks for being here. I hope you have a blessed day. I hope you'll be back again next time when I'll be here helping you to hand make with love.